All right, so this is gonna be like a really unusual angle, but it's all I have to work with on my phone right now. But I just wanted to show you guys a quick video on how to propagate Anthuriums. I have this Anthurium Crystal Hope, which I have been growing from a seedling for a couple of months now. And I'm transplanting a lot of plants. Like I have a bunch of these solo cups with some plants that I've been growing. So I figured that I would propagate this plant rather than transplanting it into one of these clear cups, which would be amazing. It's got a lot of really nice roots on it. I figured that I could chop this one plant into at least 3 or 4 of them. So when you're propagating Anthuriums, I highly recommend not cutting off a chunk without roots because they are a little difficult to get rooted. But if you look at this video here, this chunk that's got this little brown line on it, which is right here, is technically where there's a node. So there's a growth point that's hidden there. So when you cut this, there's a chemical that this plant releases that induces this growth point to emerge and grow out. So what I'm gonna do is probably cut this into 1, 2, 3 pieces and keep the 4th piece as a top cutting to grow separately. And I'm gonna show you how I do it. So I've got my razor blade here. I've got one piece that I'm gonna cut, which is this guy here. I've also got this piece over here that I'm going to cut. And then last but not least, I'm gonna peel this leaf off. But I've got this portion right here. So that gives me a total of 4 plants. This is gonna be the top one. It's got quite a few roots growing off of it. And what I'm gonna do is, which a lot of people, you'll get a lot of slack for this, but this leaf, if it stays underneath the soil, it's gonna rot off anyway. So I'm just gonna pluck off the bottom 2 leaves here, which will leave me with a 4-leaf top cutting. So I'm gonna go ahead and discard these. As beautiful as they are, it's gonna eventually rot if I just place it inside of some growing media. But I've got this one here, this middle rooted piece, which has got an insane amount of root growth. This one will probably do really well. And since the roots are kind of all over the place, I'm gonna cut off this here at the top, which is going to be, the reason why I chopped off that piece of root is because it's gonna be hard to stuff all these roots into a cup without breaking it. I'm gonna angle this upwards because this is where the plant growth point is gonna come out of. And instead of having like roots growing everywhere, I'd much rather have them all facing one direction and using that as a way of ensuring that this plant grows properly. So this is how it's gonna go in the cup. Same with, this is a root I just cut off. I've got another one. Yep, and here's the other one here. As you can see, all of the roots on this particular cutting are also facing downwards. So this will be really easy to transplant as well. And then the last one is this little tiny guy. Might make it, might not, but I'm gonna give it a shot anyways. It's kind of got a small root system on here. And then I will just pot him up. And in a couple of weeks, I'll do an update video just to show you guys what the root growth is like on this and if any of them have actually emerged with growth points. So I've got that taken care of. I've also got some rooting powder that I'm looking for, which is this stuff right here. It is made by Garden Safe. You can get this at Walmart, Lowe's, or Home Depot. And what I'm going to do is, because I just cut this plant, I'm going to shake it off. Got a little portion here. And I'm going to lightly coat the bottom portion of each cut. You can see it's got a lot of white powder on it. And then what I'm gonna do is blow off the excess. So blew that off. It's just got a light coating on there. This will help stimulate root growth as well. And I'm gonna do that with all of these cuttings. And as soon as I finish that, I will come back to show you guys what they look like fully set up in their cups and how I'm going to propagate them indoors. Okay, so I fully potted up these plants. They're all in a chunky mix, which consists of perlite, moss, bark, and Fox Farm soil. You can see that the roots are easily visible through here. I didn't go with a really dense soil or a heavily peat-based mix, simply because these plants are really thick and fibrous, and the more likely you are to use soil that retains water, the more likely you are to encourage rot in the plant. So it really helps if you do something that's very fast draining and holds some moisture, but just not enough to suffocate the roots. So I've planted 3 out of 4 of them just for the sake of the video and timing purposes. I've got this one fully potted. And then I do make labels for all of my plants. So it has the name of the plant on it, which is probably backwards. and then it has today's date. And so what I do is I will put one of these in each one of the cups, and this will help me keep track of how long it takes for a plant to root, when I cut it, and the plant's identification, because it is really easy to get confused with plant cuttings and not realize what is what, especially if you're propagating a lot of Anthuriums. Leafless chunks all look really similar. So it's a big, big, big important step to write labels for all of your plants, just so that you don't get confused. You know, you might sell one or want to trade with somebody, and the worst thing you could do is trade a plant that's inaccurate, it's mislabeled, or it ends up being the plant that they already have in their collection, or not even the plant that they wanted at all. So that's why I highly recommend it. And then after this, I'm going to lightly water these plant cuttings, put them in my greenhouse, and then I'll revisit this video in a couple of weeks just to see where everything stands at. And then update you guys on the success or the failure of these plant propagations. I live in Florida, so it's not super cold during winter time. So I'm gonna assume that these are gonna do really well, but only time I would say probably the beginning of January is whenever I'll follow up with this just to see how things are standing. But yeah, that's how you propagate your Anthuriums. If you have any questions or concerns, drop them down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like content like this. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That makes a huge difference for me. Just let me know if you guys are interested in the content that I'm sharing. And yeah, let me know if you guys have any questions or recommendations. Maybe if you have a question about plant propagations or plant identification and care that you're unaware of, by all means ask away, and I'd be more than happy to put a video out there for you guys to watch. So thanks for watching, guys.